Welcome to the latest episode of Beatin' and Bangin'. I'm your host, Kyle Dalton. Today's video is a little different than what you've seen in the past. Instead of discussing the latest NASCAR news items, we'll be talking with a couple of veteran NASCAR pit crew members. Cory Demarco has been working in the pits for over 20 years for numerous teams, including Jeff Gordon and the number 24 car. He will be my co-host of this segment and will help us navigate pit road. He also owns Fan Mag, the publisher of the official NASCAR Cup Series yearbook and the sponsor of this segment. If you haven't been to the site, I highly recommend that you check it out, because not only can you order the official Cup Series yearbook, you can also order beautiful photographic prints from each race of your favorite driver. It's definitely worth your time. In today's video, Cory and I will be joined by Jeff Cordero. He's currently the front tire changer for William Byron and the number 24 team. Jeff has had an interesting journey in NASCAR, leading up to where he is now, including working with Kyle Busch and the number 18 team and winning a championship. Without further ado, let's get started. Hey Cory, hey Jeff. Thank you for joining Beatin' and Bangin'. This is my first interview on the channel. Glad to have both of you guys on here. We got a lot to talk about from last weekend at North Wilkesboro, specifically the Pit Crew Challenge. But Jeff, before we talk about that, and I know you guys finished 8th, I want to kind of go back in time and just touch on your career and where it all started, how you got involved. I think it's kind of an interesting story. So just tell me when you got into NASCAR, and I know that about coming to North Carolina. Talk to me about that journey.
So originally, yeah, I started as a fan, like pretty much most people start, you have you see it, it looks really cool and you want to do it as a career. So I started as a fan in North Carolina. My dad used to bring me to the racetrack since I was a little kid. And then I kind of growing up, I got to the point where I was helping people at the local short track. And I got to a point where college wasn't really for me. And I needed to make a decision. I was either going to continue to kind of skate by in college, or I was going to move to North Carolina and pursue working in NASCAR full time. So in late 2009, I made the decision that school was just not for me, and North Carolina, here I come. I think I knew 3 people when I moved down here, and now I'm going into my 14th full-time season. So it obviously has worked out for me, and it's just been a journey to get here. It started out hustling. Cory can probably attest to this, just trying to make a dime wherever you can, pit whatever you can on whatever weekend you can get it. You're taking, not really good deals. You're really kind of losing money on the weekend just to get there and get back. But it's all experience, and it all pays dividends in the end. And it's led me to have a pretty good career, considering, and a career that I'm continuing to build on.
So you came to North Carolina, and I remember you talking about, you said you came to the pit school. So I had never heard of such a thing. So kind of talk me through how you found out about it, and then what it was like actually going there and learning what it's like to become a pit crew member.
So in Connecticut, I had worked on race cars. Pretty much I've turned wrenches, and that was not a foreign concept to me, but I was still young. I was 20, 21 years old when I moved to North Carolina, and I had a lot of, life and vigor in me, and I wanted to pit race cars because that's what's on TV. That's what people were doing. It looked really cool, and I wanted to be a part of the pits. So I just got to Googling online, like, is there even how would I learn how to do this? Like, would I go to a race team and try to figure out how to change tires? Do I, buy the equipment and try to put it in an apartment and try to figure it out myself? And I came across the pit school, which is located in Mooresville. Mooresville, North Carolina they have NASCAR Tech, and then right across the street was the pit school. And at the pit school, all they do is teach you how to do pit crew responsibilities, whether that's a jackman, tire carrier, tire changer, gas man. They kind of run you through like an 8-week crash course where you get to touch all of the little pieces. And then at the end of it, you kind of can make a decision. Like, do I want to be a tire changer? Do I want to be a jackman, a tire carrier? You kind of figure it out. And as the sport goes, how it is on pit road, or at least how it used to be, guys of certain builds, certain weight and heights, they kind of got pigeonholed into certain jobs, what they could and couldn't do. Your jackman, you typically want him to be 6 foot, 6'4", 215, 230, very powerful and fast. Where tire changers, they were looking for really small, nimble guys, the 165-pound, 5'8" guys. So me at 6 foot at 180 at the time, I kind of could do whatever I wanted. I kind of fit the build where I could just put on a little weight, be a tire carrier or a jackman, or kind of stay where I was and be a tire changer. And it just comes down to what looked cool. Tire changing looked really cool. So that's what I wanted to do. And if I have to learn something from scratch, I'm going to learn that. So that's kind of how I got into tire changing. It wasn't just like it was kind of out of a, I don't know, necessity to fill like a passion just to kind of pursue something. And yeah, it's worked out.
Jeff, when you kind of got going, who were some of the big name tire changers in 2009, 10, around then, when you're in that, like, I'm trying to make it, and all who were the big superstars in Cup back then?
Well, I was working at Roush Fenway Racing at the time, and the big guys were Mike Lingerfeld, Kyle Power, Todd Ziegler. Right. We had who else was out there? You had Nick Odell on the 18. You had Jake Simonera on the 18. Those guys were crushing it. So there was there was definitely guys that I looked up to and aspired to. Right. And it was just, I guess I'm one of those guys now. They've all kind of gone, and like it's a new crowd, and I'm starting to get part of the older crowd, the crowd that people talked about, that he's been doing this for so long and he's been good for a while. So
yeah, you must have come into there right as I left, or right after I had left and went over to the one car with Jamie.
Yeah, it had to be, because I got there in the middle end of 2010 was when I got to Roush.
Okay. So, yeah, and I that's when I went over there. It was 2010.
Mm-hmm.
So Jeff, you talked about Roush. So you talked about Roush Fenway. So I know you also worked at JGR, and you had a time on the 18 Kyle Busch's car. So how long were you with Kyle Busch?
I was with Kyle Busch from 2018 until 2021, so 4 full seasons.
All right, so you experienced the championship.
Yeah, and so from 2018 to 2021, we won 17 races. About 17 races, a championship, 2 most valuable pit crew awards, and just had a blast. Had made a lot of really good friends, had a lot of fun racing in those 4 years, and it was definitely a good time to be over at Gibbs. We were winning every other week, it seemed like.
So, walk me through what it's like. We see the driver celebration and all the things that happen for winning the championship, but being a pit crew, like we've talked about, it's so important as a team member, and it's a team sport. And I know fans sometimes lose sight of that because the driver gets all the attention, but what is it like for you guys to go through the whole process and make it to the end of the year, and you're on top, you're the best of the best that season? So what's it like being a pit crew member?
So I think anyone who gets into the sport, whether you're a mechanic, a tire changer, a tire carrier, a truck driver, it doesn't matter. If you're affiliated with that team, you want to go win the championship, because that puts a stamp on your season. That's, winning races is cool, and I'll never take winning a race for granted, but winning championships, they just don't happen. They hand one out a year, and they're not just handing it out. You have to go earn it. You have to go beat the best in the sport every week to put yourself in a position to win it. So winning we all get in this to win championships. Like, there are people, I'm sure, who have gotten in this just to make money because it's a job and they're kind of good at it. But Cory can attest, like, the best guys on pit road, the best teams on pit road, those are the guys that want to win over making a great paycheck. Not that you're going to take a decrease in pay to trade that for a championship, but you're going to put yourself into positions to be on championship caliber teams. And man, winning one of those, it's just, we spend 40 weeks away from our families, 40 weeks traveling, trying to just grind it out every week, where it seems like we're at the hottest racetrack in the summer everywhere we go, or it rains when it's never supposed to rain. And we just kind of get beat down all year. So to be able to come out at the end of that, to be able to get into the chase, and then the way that the playoff format works now, the last race of the season where they hand out the championship is a one race, have to go win. Every year, whoever's won the championship has won the race. So the precedent has been set. If you want to win the championship, it is a must-win race. And having those must-win situations is it puts a lot of stress, but when you win those things, man, it is exhilarating. It's just an awesome experience.
Okay. So being with Kyle, and we know Kyle can be temperamental and have things when things don't go his way, and that's what you always see all the publicity. So as a pit crew member, I'm sure you guys were kicking butt all the time, but there were those stops that you didn't do well. And I'm sure over the team radio, he said something. So did you ever have interactions with him where he was like pissed off at you guys, or you have a memorable moment, good or bad, with Kyle, whether it's the championship or just another moment that's like, it sticks in your mind because it was such a memorable moment?
So the one thing that people always want to trash Kyle on is he's very, I guess, aggressive on the radio. He doesn't have a filter, especially when you get out of the race car and he has a bad race and they stick a microphone in his face or things don't go his way. You're going to get what you get. But the one thing you're going to get being on Kyle's team is that when he puts the helmet on, he's out there to win. And anything he says, you just kind of take it for a grain of salt. Like, he's mad, he's upset, he wants to go win. So it's just kind of one of those situations where we all want to be in that position. And when things don't go right, he just doesn't. He's got the little push to talk button. He can choose to press it or not. And sometimes he chooses to press it when he probably shouldn't. But most of the time, he kind of keeps it, especially since 2018 to probably now. It's not the same Kyle Busch as it was, in the early days when he first got to Gibbs or when he was driving for Hendrick. So, yeah, I mean, I think in the 4 years we pitted him, we only got really yelled at twice on the radio. And it was 100% saw it coming, knew it was going to come, was waiting for it. Then we got it. And it was like, yeah, we totally deserve that. Like, it wasn't a surprise to any of us. It was just kind of like, I'm surprised it took you 7 stops to yell at us. And you could have yelled us after at the third one, but he held it in long enough.
So just thinking about not just Kyle, but just as a pit crew guy, I was talking to someone the other day, and he was talking about, he was just a fan and had an experience on pit road. And during that experience, someone else wasn't paying attention. And this was the 5 lug nut days. And one of the lug nuts went flying and it hit a guy, cracked him right in the cranium, right? So you guys, you see it, the things that happen, jacks, all the different things. Y'all are in a really volatile situation that it's dangerous. There's just no way around it. So kind of talk to me about those kind of experiences that you might recall that have happened throughout your career, because I think it's important for fans to understand how dangerous it really is down there. Because when you see those lug nuts go zipping by and they're super hot and they're flying by, and you guys are part of that, you're integral right in the middle of it. So talk to me about the dangers of being a pit crew member.
Yeah,
I've been hit, Jeff. That's probably a good one. You've been clipped or hit?
Oh, have I? Yeah. Most of the time, the driver the one that you want to hit you is the one that's driving the car that you're pitting, because that's the one that's actually slowing down. Yeah. The ones that are pitted like 2 or 3 boxes in front of you, when those guys clip you, they're still going 35, 30 miles an hour. So it definitely, you pay attention. I mean, there's a lot of things NASCAR does for safety. And there's a lot of things that they have implemented since I've been in the sport that has made my position on pit road a safer place to be. But there's still a lot of danger. I mean, at the end of the day, we're out there in knee pads, a bike helmet, and a fire suit with a bunch of sponsor logos on it. So we're not exactly out there, the driver's in a 3,500 pound race car with a helmet. So they're the most protected. And we're out here trying to, playing Frogger, they're trying to get all they can to get in the pit box, and you're trying to do your job. And sometimes there are certain drivers that will not cut you any slack. They will put it right on your heels. They will downshift right next to you to kind of like scare you a little bit for the next one, or they flat out just will not give you room in your own pit box. NASCAR actually this year, they implemented a bunch of rules to kind of keep us a little safer. And you haven't seen a lot of the issues that you normally would see on pit road with guys getting hit or drivers coming too close, because now there's actually a penalty for the drivers if they hit us. But with the lug nuts and all that kind of stuff, they're just flying projectiles. You wear safety glasses, you wear mouthpieces, especially with the 5 lug nut days. But when a car leaves and they burn out over them, there's not much you can do except just kind of wince and just hope it doesn't hit you in a hard spot.
and been welted many a times. I know you
Oh
have.
yeah.
What I don't know about you, but like especially in them tight tracks like Martinsville and Bristol and some of those tracks where the pit stalls are super, super short, you're always paying attention to who's pitting, if the car pitted in front of you is coming around you or not, and how far or how close. Or, I mean, I don't know about you, but I am always acutely aware at those types of places.
Yeah, so in between pit stops, there's a lot of time where you just sit there and you watch timing and scoring, and you're watching the car that's pitted right in front of you or even the one in front of them, and you're just paying attention to where on they are on the racetrack and if they're on the lead lap or not and how close that's going to be. Because if you're pitting, let's say third, and then the car that's pitted right in front of you is pitted in 25th, that's when they're coming down pit road. There's enough of a gap there where okay, I'm going to be fine. I can get up off the right side. And then by the time we're running to the left is when he's going to go by. But when you're pitted third and the guy who's pitted right in front of you is pitted fourth, fifth, or sixth, I would say even like fifth or sixth is even worse, because if they're right behind you, you can pay attention. But if they're 2 or 3 behind that, you're already committed to jumping down, sitting in front of the wheel.
You're committed, and you have to mentally hope.
Yeah,
when they're right behind you, you just have to avoid. You are Frogger. You're like,
you're trying to cut the gap. Killed.
Hope my driver doesn't stop long, and I hope this guy doesn't run me over.
Yeah, I've been put in some advantageous positions before where you abort the pit stop and just wait for that guy to go, because he's not going to give you any room. And if you did go down, you're going to get run over, and you're not going to be useful. You're probably going to be in the infield care center.
Yeah, I'm sure you've seen a couple of the times where guys went out there and the driver completely misjudged where the stall was and blew the stall. And
I've been a part of that.
Down, or did all but got mowed down. I, fortunately enough, was always, I mean, knock on wood, I could tell he ain't gonna stop. Like you just know, like there's no way he's stopping, and you just don't even jump off the wall.
Right about at the jump point is when you kind of are like, oh, he's going way too fast.
Yeah.
And the next best thing you can do is either not jump, but if you do commit to jumping, it's when you do jump, just get off the ground, just get your feet in the air. You're better off landing on the windshield than you are getting hit by the bumper. And I've been on an A post before, which is the post right there where the windshield bolts on to. And it's not pretty, but it's not it's usually you're more mad at the driver than you are anything else, because there's a sign, there's someone counting him in the box, he's practiced it, and then he goes ahead and misses it by 20 feet. Yeah.
So that's fascinating to hear both of you kind of describe it, because again, as just a fan, you don't really get a sense of all of those things that happen. So tell me a little bit about, we're talking about 5 lugs, but now we've got the single lug. And last year, all these teams kept having problems. I don't think the 24 did y'all ever have a loose wheel?
No. Okay, we never had one come off. Yeah.
Okay, so you guys never had the 4-week vacations for your crew chief and the 2 crew members. So what was the difference? How come? Because it seemed like, and I wrote numerous stories about this last year, it just kept happening over and over. And there were mixed stories between whether it being the people doing it, the equipment. Sometimes the equipment wasn't working. It was a combination of factors. So tell me a little bit about your experience of watching other teams experience it, including maybe some at HMS, and you guys avoiding those problems.
So I think the biggest difference is when it used to be 5 lug nuts, you didn't have to have all 5 tight to be able to run the rest of the race or that pit cycle. You could get, depending on where you were, you could get away with 3 of the 5 being tight or 4 of the 5 being tight. You didn't have to get all 5. So guys like myself and guys like Cory and who made a career doing it, you try to go as fast as you can to get as many tight as you can. That's going to keep the wheel tight, but not go so slow that you're losing time on pit road. So when everyone got transitioned to the 1 lug nut, now it is either pass or fail. It's either tight or it's not tight. There's no in between, where if a driver has a loose wheel with 5 lug nuts, they could feel it out for 3 or 4 laps. Yeah, this wheel's definitely loose. We're pitting. And now it's, hey, this wheel's loose. And by the time they say loose on the radio, the wheel's coming off. Or sometimes they don't even know, and all of a sudden the wheel just comes off. So I think what everyone kind of got into it I'm not saying that people were rushing, but it was definitely a more conscious effort from myself and a lot of the teammates that were around me to, hey, we can't, you have to be tight all the time. You can't cut the line and be really close because there's no more really close. It has to be tight. And we're all learning, especially last year. We were trying to figure it out because if you stayed on it with the one lug nut, you can get it way too tight for the next stop, so it won't come off. So it's kind of, you're going as fast as you have to go, but you're not trying to go any slower than you need to go, if that makes any sense. So,
Jeff, have you gotten to the point now where, I know a lot of guys still do, they mark the socket with lines, and I don't know how much visually guys are using that or not, but I know for me, like, everything was always a feel, right? Like, it was a rhythm with the 5-lug. You just knew the pace, right? You could feel if you felt like you hit one, you better make sure you get the next one, or maybe you got to go back and hit one. But now, like you said, I mean, there's only one, so it's either go or no go. But I got to think as many reps as you've got in now, you're always trying to push the limit of what can you get away with. I mean, have you gotten to a point where for you, are you painting and paying attention? Or are you more gotten to a point where you guys are so in sync now as a group, it's very feel oriented for you? There's so much timing to the rhythm of the whole stop with each guy.
So like you were saying with the 5-lug nuts, again, I totally agree with you. It was more of a feel. It was a rhythm. It was kind of a sound. It was a combination of all of those that kind of, you knew what you had tight or not tight. You could come over the wall and be like, yeah, 1, 2, 4, and 5 are tight. The third one's definitely loose. You just knew it. Like now with the 1-lug nut, I'm one of those guys that has a bunch of stripes on the socket.
Right.
So I will say that because that thing has so much torque that it's not so much the feel anymore as much as I am paying attention to the lines. Because when the socket's spinning, the lines are really blurred. And when it hits, it is like you see a solid line. So it's like a hard stop.
Yeah.
So for me, I will feel it, but I'm also watching at that socket. I'm not waiting for the socket to stop to let go of the trigger, but it's kind of a combination. Like when it stops, when I let go of the trigger, everything looks normal.
The line is like a marker for you, but probably at this point, it's reactionary of you're already starting to let go, unless you see that it's not for some reason or something.
When we first started, it was definitely, you saw the line stop and then you got up and started moving.
Correct.
Now it's kind of to the point.
Borderline being too tight back then, right?
100%. Now to the point, guys, including myself, are kind of like, that's your last visual check for your eyes and for your helmet camera. So if you need to go back and look at it right away, it's just kind of that, like, yeah, it's tight. And of all the ones that I have seen where wheels have come off, the lines were not stopped, or there was definitely a question mark on it. It wasn't so clear cut. So yeah, it's a little bit of, arrow in the Indian, like, you have to execute for it to be tight. And I'm sure there's extenuating circumstances. I don't know every one on pit road, but yeah, for the ones that I've seen that have come off, they've just not been tight.
Yeah. Just didn't stay on it long enough.
Yeah. And we're fighting for, like, we have to understand, we're fighting for hundreds and tenths of seconds. We're not fighting for 1 or 2 seconds. 1 or 2 seconds won't keep you a job. You're fighting to try to get 2/10 better over the next 6 months. So, like, that's so incremental. You have to fight for every little inch, every split second, every little piece of reactionary time. It just adds up over the season. And if you can be 2/10 better than the next team, 2/10 is like, you might as well be 20 strokes ahead in a golf tournament. It is a lot of time to make up.
How'd you compare your 24 bunch to your 18 bunch back in the day? Because you obviously, I mean, I know most of the guys on your deal now, and I knew obviously most of the guys on the 18 back in the day. And I know, like, when you have that group that just, it all meshes, both personalities and just personally on and off the track, and when out there and it just truly is a rhythm, right? Like, you just can anticipate each movement that's coming based on each guy, as a group. Man, it's fun when you have those groups. So would you say your 24 group is a lot like your 18, or it's maybe even better now, or kind of how is that?
I wouldn't say one is better than the other. And they're
I'm
not
sure
that
they're a
far
little
different.
different, but
I mean, it's a little different cast of characters, but from a pit crew standpoint, the guys I pit race cars with, the crew chief standpoint, engineering, road crew guys, because we all come together and make one big team. I'm sure you've been on teams where the pit crew hates the road crew mechanic guys hate the pit crew guys, and it just turns into it's not fun to go to
not
the
very much
racetrack.
fun.
Yeah. But both the 18 that I was on with Kyle when we had a really good run, and now being part of this 24 team with William Byron and the guys that are on that team, everything is so similar. Everyone gets along, everyone understands, everyone puts out for everybody else before they put out for themselves. So we're all trying to help each other get better instead of just being like, oh, I'm really good at this and you need to get better at it. It's, hey, what can I do to help you? Or, hey, is there anything I can do that'll help you do this? Or can I go run tires for you? Can I help put away scales? It's every little thing to be on a team that we're all selfless. We all want to help each other and we all want to win. And we all know that if we don't help each other, we're not going to be able to win, because you don't accidentally win in NASCAR. It very rarely happens. It might happen a couple times in a decade where someone who is not that great will win, or not a great team, but all the teams that are winning consistently week in and week out, they're all really good teams and they all hold each other up.
Yeah. So how fun was Wilkesboro? How fun was that, the pit crew deal, compared to some of the ones back in the day? I was jealous y'all getting to do it the way you did it, and it having the meaning it did. We used to do, when they did do it back at Charlotte, the drivers would have to run 2 full laps. So, the pit crew was important, but man, it was the overall, right? Because there was so much going on. Whereas this deal was finite. What did the pit crew do or not do? And as long as the driver mostly stopped, it was really on the pit crew this time. So how was that deal?
So it was awesome going back to Wilkesboro. They dumped a ton of money into that place, and you can tell, and we'll be going there in the future. I don't know that officially, but if I had to put money on it, I would say we would be. It's an awesome experience. Of the pit crew competitions that I've done, that was probably one of the better ones, because like you said, at Charlotte, it wasn't realistic to what we did. The drivers got to be all cool and come down pit road speed at Mach 10 and then hopefully stop in the box, but we weren't allowed to jump over and do the pit stop like we normally would. So it kind of made it where it was definitely a show, and it wasn't really a pit crew representation. It was more of a, how fast can you drive your car down pit road and control it, and how fast can you leave?
Right.
So there's that. I never got to do the one at the arena down in Charlotte. I've been a part of them, but I never got to compete. I wasn't on a cup car at the time. So I thought that was pretty cool, but again,
that was
it's
a
not
cool deal back in the day, but yeah, it was kind of same thing. Who could push the car the fastest?
It's not a true representation of what we do on pit road. I thought Wilkesboro, of all the ones that I have done, was the most representative of what actually happens on pit road. Driver had to come in the box. We had to do our pit stop. He got to leave and bounce the pistons off the valves and be cool. But I think there's still room for improvement. I talked with some people this weekend from NASCAR, from mechanics, where, they kind of asked a lot of the pit crew guys, like, hey, we thought this was a good event. Is there anything you would improve on it? I think there is. I think there is a way to take the driver component, getting in and out of the box, out of it, and make it just solely on the pit crews. And then you can use that driver time stuff for tie breaks or whatever else you want to use it for. But
sure,
of the ones I've done, I thought that was really cool atmosphere, really cool experience. Yeah, I mean, if you
feel
look
more
at
pressure in that deal than you do, say, last stop of the race.
Way more pressure in that, because everyone's it's not that
every one of your peers is staring you down deathly, watching every incremental movement of every single thing.
Like on pit road, you're coming down the last stop at Homestead or Phoenix and you're running for a championship. You don't there's people in the grandstands, there's people on TV, your crew chiefs, no one cares, because everyone's watching everything. And the people that you want the most respect from are the people that do what you do, and they're all busy. No one's paying. There might be a few pit boxes that are paying attention, but it's not like it is at the pit crew thing. The behind the wall banter at that pit crew competition was everyone's, we're all chirping each other up. We're all standing there. We're all watching each other. You come over the wall, instead of seeing your road crew, you're seeing us chirp at you, so it's like, it was a fun deal. It was really cool for the 54 guys. They're a great pit crew. They did a great job. Ty did a great job getting in and out of the box. And Yeah, I mean, it was a fun experience. Hell, if we could do that every weekend, that'd be cool. That'd be fun.
Yeah.
So, like I said, of
I
all the
haven't
ones
I
I've been
haven't
a part
seen
of, that was the most fun.
Yeah, I haven't seen Hicks yet, but he's on a roll here lately. His daughter's won 2 races at Millbridge now. Then he won that, so he's riding on high cotton right now.
Oh yeah, man,
So
winner's gonna win.
you brought up something that I actually was one of my questions was when you're doing the challenge, are you talking trash to other teams, to even your own HMS teams, or are you encouraging, or is it a combination of both? Because to me, in that circumstance, it seems like it would be, it's fun. You guys want to win 100 grand. I get it. But it is a fun thing, and you guys are thrown in the spotlight, and it seems like it's something you would try to have fun with.
There's definitely people that you will chirp with, like your buddies. You'll make fun of them. You'll poke fun at them. You'll put a little, hey, I wouldn't do that if I were you. You know, you'll have some fun. But at the end of the day, we all want to see each other do well. Like no one wants to see anyone do bad or suck on pit road because it's not good for any of us. So you're happy and it's good to see other guys do good. Plus, it's good competition. But I want to see everybody do good because if everyone's doing good and you can beat everybody while they're doing good, then you are top dog in the sport. And that's how I like to compete. I want everyone to be at their best. So that way, when they do get beat, I know I did it and everyone was on an even playing field. Everyone was doing it. So that's why for me, like the pit stop challenge is a cool thing to win. And it's definitely something I would like to win before my career is over. I haven't won one yet. But I think the end of the year Mechanics Wear Championship that they give out to the most valuable pit crew for the entire season, for me, that's something that's where at the beginning of the year, I have that circled on the calendar because I want to win that because that means that you went in every week and just gave it to them every week. You beat guys every week. Pit road is a sum zero game. For me to gain a spot, someone has to lose a spot. And they're not giving those away. You have to go take it from other people. So for me, pit road is like the hardest place. The racetrack is the hardest place to pass cars. It could take William 30 laps to pass 2 cars on his lap. You can come to pit road. We can do a pit stop and gain 5 spots in one stop. It might take him 100 laps to gain past 5 cars. So pit road is the biggest place in a race for moving and shaking. And you can see races have completely been determined by pit road, whether you win the race off pit road or you lose the race on pit road. Pit road, like people appreciate it, but I don't think people appreciate it to the level that how much it is just a wrench in everybody's game because it could go any way.
Right.
You remember the old Tissot Awards?
Oh yeah.
Dude, I got one of those watches.
Nice.
So we finished second in the overall for the year in 2010. Like we had that group, that killer year, both on pit road, as just everybody was super tight, man. It was one of them years, right? And we got 4 of those watches that year, and every time we'd get one, we'd basically put all our names in a hat. This is back when we had 6 guys, not 5 guys.
Yeah.
And draw out a name. So I actually got the one from our Brickyard 400 win, no less.
Perfect.
So
that's
like
a great one.
Yeah, man. So it's like one of them things, like you said, like to get those types of things when they do it on the pit crew side, man, it's one of them things where like it just makes it that much sweeter.
Yeah. It's fun to win, whether it's a pit crew win or a racetrack win. Like I buy every die cast from every race win that I've been a part of because at the end of the day, money comes and goes, but trophies last. The only reason you get rid of trophies is if you pass on and you pass them to somebody else or you give them away. Right. I can go spend money tomorrow. So money comes and goes, but trophies last. So if anyone's out there who is in a sport where they hand out trophies, always get the trophy, win the trophy, keep it. There's memories you'll never forget.
Yeah, for sure.
So let's wrap up here, Jeff. We're halfway through the regular season. Your team's got the most wins. What are your thoughts? Where is the 24 team going? Where do you see the future of this team for the rest of the 23 season?
24 team and Hendrick Motorsports in general is in a really strong position. We're bringing strong race cars at the track every week, especially between us and the 5. Chase getting back in they're bringing strong cars for him. I think he's finally getting back in the groove of things. And now that Alex is back, it's just going to help our whole program now that we have all 4 of the drivers. I would
Oh, the joys of technology. That's a red flag on my computer for somehow ending the call before we were all ready to leave. Had I been given the opportunity, I wanted to thank my co-host Cory Demarco for his part in a great conversation, and again remind you guys to go check out fanmag.com to view the official Cup Series yearbook and some really awesome race photos available for purchase. And lastly, thanks again to Jeff Cordero. Lots of interesting stories from his long career on pit road. I want to wish him and the number 24 team good luck the rest of the 2023 season. Thanks again everyone for checking out our channel in this very different style of episode. We'll have more interviews like this in the future. We'll see you in the next video and have a great rest of your day.